really interesting, because obviously it's something we've talked about with other historical fiction writers and other historians on the podcast about how incredibly pervasive religion was in people's lives. And it's very difficult for people, I think modern 21st century people in the West especially, to understand quite how incredibly pervasive and how dominant it was. And I sort of often say to people when we talk about it, at events or readers talk about it and ask you questions, and I always say to them, you need to imagine places like the Taliban, Afghanistan or the Taliban, and how controlling religion is now in certain places in the world, and kind of to get an idea, I think, of what society might have been like in the Middle Ages, and how much it would control your everyday.
Yeah, and so Gerard and Willa are on their own quest to try to reverse this excommunication so that he can regain his lands and titles that have been stolen from him, and that they can re-enter society.
Yeah.
And I think, Matthew, you're right. It's hard for people to understand that everything was predicated by the Catholic Church if you were a Christian in the West in the Middle Ages. And so, as Boyd said, he can't own property. He can't participate in any church rituals, which includes marriage, for instance. And, I often tell people, in order to help them get an understanding of how pervasive the church was at this time, that even simple things like telling time was determined by the church. And so if you ask the time, as you'll see in our novels, you don't say, oh, it's 11 o'clock. You'll say it's an hour before High Mass, or you'll say it's an hour after Matins. And those are, and those are time periods that are determined by the Catholic Church. So it really was down to little everyday things really were determined by that religious atmosphere.
And it was so pervasive, they didn't even refer to the Catholic Church. They referred to the church.
The church,
the only church.